Hello, everyone. This is Michaela, and you're listening to the End All the Things podcast. As a life coach and facilitator, I work with individuals and groups to empower their best selves to shine to the betterment of all involved. My goal is always to bring you closer to trusting the voice inside of you that is authentically yours. My job here is no different. In my journey through life, I continue to meet people who use their authenticity, their gifts, to grow, change, and serve through professional and personal endeavors. These people and their stories become my gift to you, for I cannot keep a good thing to myself, and I believe that they may inspire a part of your story to evolve. Hello, friends, and welcome back to End All the Things. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the comment I just made in the intro, that our stories evolve together when we learn and grow and serve with other people and then reflect upon it. Ed Delia, who you're about to meet, is one of those people for me. More than just a friend, more than just a business partner and vendor, he has been a mentor, a guide, and a voice of reassurance that finding my voice was the most important work I could do. In this conversation, you're going to hear a lot about Ed and the work that he does as president of Delia Associates. You will hear about his creativity, life and family business, marketing with integrity and using old world honesty. But we're also going to talk about living in wonder, the art of baseball, and identifying with yourself and your own personal brand. So, without further ado, I offer to you Ed Delia and All the Things. All right, welcome Ed to End All the Things. We are in your office today, which is a brand new, as you just used the language, cutting of the teeth for End All the Things. So thank you so much for having me here today. It is always a pleasure to be greeted with your so on time branding on the video out front. It says, "Welcome Michaela Shaw of Joy Inc." So I feel extra special today.
You are extra special.
Thank you.
Great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you. How are you on this day?
I'm awesome.
Yeah. What's
Yeah.
happening for you today?
Today is a busy day. We've got a lot going on. Busy is good. So
Busy is good. Yeah. And busy for you in the world of branding looks like what?
So a lot of client activity, a lot of new activity. Clients are doing new things. They're branching out. New prospects are coming our way in droves, it would seem. So That's it's awesome. An exciting time, and especially being Q4, which is often the time when people really start to look at the year ahead and start that planning cycle. So it's an opportune time to be entering into new relationships and growing the relationships we have. So
awesome. And I think we'll come back and talk a little bit more about that, but let's take a step back in time, right? Okay. We're here in 2023. However, marketing today in 2023 for these prospected new clients is very different than it was in, let's say, 1990, 1996, 1998. When you really started, I guess, 96 to 98, moving into ownership of your family business, Delia Associates. How has marketing changed from that point in time? And feel free to catch us up on the story of how you got there to today.
Sure. Okay. So I think I started, it was August of 1995 was my first year as a full-time employee at Delia Associates.
Family business seemed to make sense. Was that what you knew you wanted to do, or was it the next logical step, or how did you know that was the right move?
So I was in line for graduation from Dickinson College. So it was a few months earlier. And a good friend of mine was right next to me, just paralleling. And I actually said to him, and he remembers this because he holds me to this. I said, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do next, okay, but I'll be damned if I go to work for my own man.
Did you write it in blood? Okay, and so there you are, like 22-ish, maybe?
21.
21, and absolutely not, no way in hell I'm doing this.
So
what gives? What gave?
Okay, so I'm the youngest by 10 years of three siblings. And they had all done kind of a pass through, as well as some of their significant others,
Okay.
and moved on.
Pass through the business.
Correct.
They've come in,
Yeah.
they saw it, they left. Okay.
Came in, they left, and usually the leaving was because there was some breakdown in the relationship with my dad. And I think they all kind of knitted out to the same thing. Say, I'd like a relationship with my dad, but not this kind of relationship. So I was at a point with my dad where we had a great relationship. So I'm like, okay, I've seen what happens. I really like this.
Interesting.
Love my dad and love where our relationship is. And I don't want to mess that up. So I had a job lined up outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So at the time, it was selling office equipment. And I knew that I wanted to pursue a path in sales because I saw one of my older brothers do very well pursuing a path in sales. And if you recall, back in the mid 90s, one of the hot sales positions was pharmaceutical sales. So that was my end game. And you either get there by being really smart in science, which I was an English major, I was not, or you demonstrated some sales acumen through another channel. So that was that's where my head was at in 95.
Okay.
So in early, I think it was July timeframe, my dad and I sat down and we had a heart to heart. And he said, listen, I know you're taking this job, but what if you reconsidered? Why don't you come into Delia Associates? I'll teach you the business, and then you can
the acumen.
Yeah, and then we can start a buyout process and I'll transfer the business and you buy me out. And then he said, and if you can make up your mind over this weekend, because I got 3 or 4 people lined up to buy the business.
But no pressure, Ed. You do you, buddy.
So I was like, okay, that's interesting. And I happened to be getting together with some recent grads and friends from college that weekend. And I was kind of taking stock of where they were at. So they were either taking very low level jobs, they were living, very poor, or they were going back to school, So I said, I'm 21, and I've got this opportunity for business ownership. Didn't pass that up. So I politely declined the job that I had lined up. I said, okay, Dad, let's do this. And that's where it began. I often tell people who will ask me, who are in family businesses or contemplating a move to a family business, how do you know if you've made the right call?
Right.
And for me, and I don't know if this is true for everyone, I felt like I looked up and it was 1996, like a year had passed, and I felt like I blinked. So I think it's
meaning that first year
so
in
fast.
The business, and there's just so much that you jumped into that time flew.
Yeah. I think you're in a good place where you don't notice the passing of time, when time seems to fly, where the end of the day kind of comes up on you and you didn't even realize it.
Right.
And if anything, you're extending that day. You're here at 8 o'clock and not really thinking about it, and coming in early the next morning and not really thinking about it, and time seems to be accelerating. I think that's an indicator that people are in a good place versus like watching the clock, like, oh God, another hour, very 2 hours. I can't stand this,
No, I completely understand in a lot of different ways. I'm sure we'll get to. But okay, so you jump in, you're getting to know it. In that space, yes, you had gone to school, gotten educated in the world of business and English or whatever you were doing. What did you know about marketing and branding at the time? And what was the 1995, 6, 7, 8 position on marketing and branding?
So without realizing it, when you grow up around a family business, you kind of absorb it. So, as I look back in my childhood, when I was 7 years old, I was helping people collate press kits. When I was 13, I was going on photo shoots with my brother and helping him set up trade booths. I think I wrote my first published press release when I was 16, and I was doing media analysis at 17, and working on video shoots at 18. So without really realizing that I'm amassing this level of exposure, but it was just for fun. I didn't really think of it as anything. So that when I came into it, it's like, I know some things, and there was a lot I didn't know. So I was kind of a cannonball on the ship. I just wanted to learn and do and know everything. I think I saw my first profit and loss statement, shortly after joining. And I'm looking at it, I'm going to the end. I said, Dad, why is the number at the end of the August column in parentheses? He goes, well, that means we lost money in August. Like, okay. Why is this bigger number next to it also in parentheses? So, well, we've been losing money all year. And I thought,
Okay.
what did I just join? So the business was actually losing money in
Right.
1995. And come 96, we turned a small profit. So
Nice.
I don't want to take all the credit, but I think being here and being engaged, I'll take some of the credit because I did some things.
Well, I mean,
But-
it is a team effort. It's taking something that works and moving it forward. There's a lot of credit to be taken and given, right? Your dad built this thing that could have been profitable all along, but now share this. We met through mutual family businesses,
Yeah.
right? We Thimble Architectural Doors started working with you.
Mhm.
And I still got a high five, Chris, my husband, who was like, this is our guy. He's good. He's good. And we're all like, oh, we know the marketers. They're always, barking up our tree. And then we met you. And, quick side note, you walk into our office that day, and I don't know if you had seen him before, but you ran into a guy, Joe, that works for us. And to demonstrate how intertwined community and time can be, wasn't it your dad was Joe's coach in baseball?
Joe was my coach.
Joe, that's what it was. Joe. So our
Yeah,
Joe at Thimble was your baseball coach, and he still works for us. He is a staple and a mainstay in our organization. But it just was another layer of personality and connection and legacy that was really important to our business. And I think we can talk about our relationship there as we go forward. But the family business integrating the next generation and saying, why are you doing this? Often feels like a critique and a judgment, right? But there's so much opportunity now to take it and churn it and grow it. And it sounds like what you did. How do you negotiate that with your dad at the time of, I see these numbers in parentheses, that's not okay. Was there a struggle between him feeling judged, or was it all empowerment moving forward?
I think it was, for me, it was a realization of the situation that the company was in. So then I started asking the question, why? Why is this happening?
Did he receive that well?
He did when I started making moves to correct that position. What had happened over the years is that, to a fault, we're very loyal. We believe in relationships. We still are. Relationship centric is one of our core values. It manifests as client centric, but it means the same thing. Right? We're believers in long-standing relationships. Our oldest standing client predates me in this company, so they're going to be turning 33 next year.
That's incredible. I mean, what a testimonial.
So, and there's a number that are sitting in that 10-year plus 15-year position. So, but on the downside of that, some of the supplier relationships were kind of taking advantage.
Yeah.
And I would look at what we were paying for certain goods and services. I'm like, okay, we're paying $5,000 for this. I have a source that will do the same work for $500. So I'm like, wait a minute, that can't be right. I must have something wrong. So I'm doing a check down with the other, lower cost supplier. I'm like, so you'll do exactly what's over here.
Right.
Like, yeah, all these things, same quality, everything. Yeah. So I started to look at areas, and there were a number of them where
my aha moment there was our payroll. We were paying our employees every week. I'm like, the administrative costs, the paper printing costs to that, just extraordinary. And garbage. I was like, we're paying what for garbage removal?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But it's those things that get overlooked over time when you do have a relationship and you trust, and then things escalate and you're not paying attention because you're busy running the business.
Yeah.
So, okay. So here's where we drive the question. This is 95, 96, 97. The internet was born, not flourishing yet, right? Google was born the year I graduated high school in 1998. How do you look at the books that aren't super healthy and the onset? Did you know the internet was coming in this way? And how do you bridge that gap, right? You're taking over a company that is a second generation. It has lived in trade show land. It has lived in phone book land. The world is changing and you've got to bring the company along. How do you do that?
The harder part was not bringing the company along. The harder part was bringing the clients along, because
the company saw it and knew what was happening.
Yeah,
The clients
exactly
are
what's
the
happening.
lagging indicator.
Yeah, so our clientele has historically and still is business to business. So things that manifest, I mean, I'll even take a step more. Typically, the things manifest, new ways of doing manifest usually in the gaming world. And then they find their way into the consumer world, and then they find their way.
Why is that?
That's where that's kind of the tip of the spear of, communications, creativity and innovation. It's really, so, if you really kind of want to know what's coming, look at what your kids are playing. And that will give you a bit of a hint of how that might manifest in, both consumer and then commercial realities. At least I've always looked at that as a bit of a future barometer. I look at gamification of like Fortnite.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's what I was gonna say. So my kids are playing Fortnite and Roblox. What is that telling us?
Yeah, I mean, if you think about what those applications are doing, they're bringing people together for a common good, right? For a cause. Not unlike bringing a company together for a common cause, right? What are they doing? They're learning, they're acquiring things. Okay, that sounds very commerce-ish, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it totally does. My kid's like, I just bought $1 million worth of this and that. And I'm like, I can't even understand, but good for you. Sounds very entrepreneurial, right?
So, so envisioning, digital experiences like that where things can be learned, goods can be exchanged, people can have exchanges in the virtual world that's mimicking the real world. Is a very real possibility. Will it manifest exactly like Fortnite? Probably not.
No, but the indicator that a certain growth or change or evolution is coming. So how did you use that mindset in the late 90s when you had to, and fast forward, I'm thinking of my dad, right? Like we don't own Fimble.com, this, because we didn't jump on the bandwagon fast enough. Our cousins in New Hampshire have it. And while that's great, it's a different business, right? So we missed that opportunity. And I imagine my dad wasn't the only one behind on that. So, because when I look at this and I think about people listening, I think while they may not be going through a 1995 to 98 transition, right? And it might not be the internet, we're always going through that change and that evolution. How do we manage that? How do we communicate that? How do we say, I hear you with your reservations, client, but you really need to buy Fimble.com?
So we always have believed in, we practice what we preach. So the first thing we had to do was get Delia, I think it ended up being DeliaNet.com because we own Delia Associates.com, but it was too hard to say and spell. So for better forces, DeliaNet is a little simpler. There was a Delia.com, I think that was already, there's several of them. In fact, there's several of them in my industry that float around. So we had to get our site, launched, and that was like my first priority. And then basically I was just hell bent on we've got to do a project for anybody, at that point.
A lot of portfolio.
To start to demonstrate, that we know how to do this work.
Okay.
Most of our clients, when we bring up, a website, they're like, our clients aren't there. And that's, IT does that. You don't do that. And that was sort of the mindset in the mid 90s, is it's an IT
I can
function.
understand because marketing, branding wasn't the catchphrase. I don't think that it is today, right?
Most certainly
not
in the B2B realm. That was rather novel. And that was, one of the aha moments I had about what I wanted to do with my life's work here. So our first website, commercial website, not DeliaNet, but was for what were they? A used auto parts dealer, essentially a high-end junkyard.
I was gonna say.
And one of the features that we built at the time that was very novel was there was a parts lookup capability.
Oh, nice.
So the site visually looked very simple, but it looked nice. But then it was really this ability to look at, parts inventory
instead of digging through a junk pile.
Yeah. So, and that site lived in that iteration for, I think, over 10 years and served them well.
That's
so
a long time for a website.
yeah, yeah.
At least
but
in
it worked
today's measure.
and it did what they needed to do.
Okay.
So it's also not uncommon when it comes to the B2B world for
And for our listeners, that's the business to business,
Yes.
right? So it's the business working with another business, like a
Correct.
manufacturer or a product, versus the consumer.
going direct to consumer or to a resident or
Right.
so typically there's a bit of a lagging adoption of whatever the latest can be done in terms of marketing. There's always a bit of a lag, so I don't mind that as long as they're not dragging. Lagging's okay, dragging is not good. So the way that we got our first large client to adopt a website was we didn't call it a website. So
Words are beautiful, aren't they?
yeah. So it started out as we were doing a lot of press coverage for this client. They were getting great pickup. They were even getting international pickup. And I said to our client, I said, if we built an online media platform and published there, we could get more global exposure. We could get a more of a global reach. She's like, yeah, let's do that.
If you had called it a website, they probably would
We'd
have
say,
been
no, that's
highly
IT. You got to
opposed.
go talk to IT. But as soon as I called it an online media center, he's like, yeah, that sounds great. And lo and behold, we did, and they got more exposure. And I said, if we put more about your products on here, we could probably rename it, and expose customers and prospects to it. He's like, yeah, let's do that. So essentially, we walked them into a website on the basis of things that they wanted and needed from a marketing standpoint. So it was a little bit of a backdoor way, but when all was said and done, it was a really elaborate site that could do a lot
and highly effective.
Yeah.
And it's difficult sometimes when we know what people need and they don't know it, right? And that's where I think I'll be honest with you, and I've told you this before, I tend to find a lot of marketing very cringy, right? Because it's pushing people towards things they don't really need or want.
Yeah.
Which is where I say to you, you market with integrity, right? And I can say that firsthand, with our business, with our garage door manufacturing business, you got to know us, you saw us, you identified who we were, what was important, and then helped us rebuild the brand around who we were and who we wanted to be. It wasn't pushy salesy, it wasn't fabricating information. And I think that we commingle the marketing integrity with capitalism and the intensity of the world coming at us today. But I still find it interesting that we don't call it manipulation, right? We can manipulate people to our will, to their betterment when we do it with integrity, right? If we're trying to manipulate people to buy things they don't truly need, that's a different story. So how do you balance the two? Because I have seen you do it, not only in the way you interact and build the relationship with your customers and your clients, but the output. It's beautiful, it's powerful, it's authentic. How do you manage that in a world where there's so much pull to just go make the sale, go do the thing?
Well, you used a great word, integrity and honesty.
Yeah.
Those really they're focal to our core brand development process. That's why we always start that process from within, by talking to the people that represent the brand. Because if we don't, and we put something out that's not them, it's kind of like trying on a piece of apparel that doesn't fit and saying, okay, now live with that. It's like, well, it doesn't fit. It's uncomfortable. Right? I don't like it. It doesn't feel good on me. So a brand should feel good.
It should. And it should feel good to all the stakeholders, including their clients and, like you said, suppliers. It should be something that feels right. Right? Because I ask my clients all the time, like, well, can you sleep well at night making this choice, living in this way? Like, do you sleep well? And if they say no, great, let's shift it. Let's change it, because we don't want to be living in the wrong clothes.
Hey there, amazing listeners of And All the Things. Thank you for being on this journey with me. The fact that you're still here, I have to assume this podcast has sparked your curiosity, encouraging you to think of life beyond your current boundaries. Now it's time to take that energy and channel it into a transformative journey where boundless joy awaits. Introducing The Course for Joy, brought to you by Joy Enterprises and me, Michaela, your Joy Coach. Life gets busy, I get it, but self-care matters and should not take a back seat. That is why we've crafted a 4-week self-guided adventure to seamlessly fit into your routine. In just 15 minutes, a few times each week, our enlightening video lessons and engaging workbooks will guide you through self-discovery and bring you closer to growth. As a special bonus, when you enroll in the Course for Joy, you'll receive an exclusive 50-minute live coaching session. We'll celebrate your progress and create a roadmap for your journey ahead. Are you ready to paint your life with vibrant joy and purpose? Visit myjoycoach.com/course to learn more about the transformative Course for Joy. Let's amplify your joy and ignite your purpose together. Stay tuned for more inspiration and insights right here on And All the Things.
And you have said before, I see, you used the quote from Shakespeare, "To thine own self be true." What does that mean to you as Ed Delia, the person, and Delia Associates, the branding company?
Well, there's a lot of synergy inherently in who I am and who this company is. And certainly, if you look at our company's values, you don't have to look too far to figure out what mine are.
So what are the company values? Spitfire a few.
Client-centric is number one. Solutions-driven. That's why we exist, not to create problems or, but to solve. Self-motivated to learn and grow. Right.
Okay.
We have to be learning and growing all the time in this industry, or we die. Right. It's an imperative. Collaboration is so important. So we encourage collaboration with our clients. We encourage collaboration with our team. That's when we do our best work. Old world honest. That's another one. So we've got to speak truthfully and honestly in all scenarios. And then we do it with value number 7, which is exhibit professionalism. So we try to do it nicely.
And still productively and effectively.
Yeah.
And so are these then also Ed Delia's rules to life?
I would say yes, they are. Certainly I resonate with all of them. And in many places, because of my upbringing, because I feel equally at home here as I do at my own home.
Right.
You
grew up here.
I did grow up here. I spent many years here. And so I feel very close to this place. I mean, my dad passed in 2012, but, I can honestly say, I hope this doesn't sound weird. There's certain places in this space where I can feel him, his desk used to be right there.
Oh.
So I'll sit there and I can kind of feel his presence over where our sign is. There's certain parts in the building where I can feel, my dad. And, it feels like home.
What do you think what would his reaction be today?
I think he would be quite pleased because he is on record as saying, answering the question, what do you hope to achieve with Delia Associates? He said, I hope to build something that lives beyond me. So he's most certainly done that.
What do you think yours is?
I would say that my contributions mattered. When
They last.
That they last and that they mattered. That there was an impact. That people felt the impact, and that my force in the industry, in the business, had meaning to not the whole world. I don't need to change the world, but maybe to the people we empower,
right.
And we give them the tools to change the world.
Well, and I think that's so important, because the idea of having a meaningful life, we think, we have to be Mother Teresa or someone in that ethereal global sphere. But the reality is that the work that you do in branding, right, isn't about, yes, we know it's pushing the final sale, getting the ROI for the people, making sure all their metrics line up. But what you did, for example, with us was, whether you know it or not, you were like a team marriage counselor or something, right? Like, come on in, you asked all the questions, And blessedly, you navigated the personalities. Kudos to that. But we were able to then finally see who we were, what we were, and where we wanted to go. We had a framework, we had clarity, and it has been so valuable. But we don't spend enough time asking the question of who were you, who are you, and who do you want to be? So we spent some time together a few weeks ago. You came to one of my workshops on overwhelm. And we started really digging into some of those questions. And thank you very much for attending and participating. But when we think about looking at overwhelm and how life comes at us and all the many ways it can affect us, what do you think some of your takeaways are from thinking about overwhelm in your experience and your business, and then transferring that to your clients?
Mhm.
How do you understand what their pain points are, what they're managing, so that you can navigate the personalities, pull the brand together, and then output something that gets them to their ROI?
That's a great question. And by the way, that was a great presentation you gave, and we implemented one of the takeaways.
Oh, good.
Which
Which
was,
one?
So we have a production meeting that's extensive, and we actually call it the end of day. And I think I asked the question. I said, "Gosh, this meeting is tough on us. It's arduous. It's long, and painful." And I think you said, "Well, you're taking a very difficult meeting and putting it and calling it end of day. What if you put it at start of day?" So we
Shift
tried
the
that.
energy.
And I can't say that the meeting was any less intense, but most certainly we didn't walk out feeling like we just got beat up.
Yeah.
We still had energy for the day.
And time to go do the things that you discussed, and to have
Yeah.
follow-up conversations, not, I got to get out my kid's baseball game, gotta go
Yeah.
at the end of the day. That's awesome.
So, and I asked the
That's
team,
awesome.
like we did the first one, I think it was last week, and
Good.
I asked the participants, I said, "Any objection to doing it this way all the time and calling it the start of day?" And everybody's like, "Yes." So I was like,
Words
okay.
matter, timing matters, and just because that it worked at one point for one time, for what I want for people, side note here, friends, I just want people to think about what they're doing.
Yeah.
Why the hell are you doing this? What is the purpose? Are you getting what you wanted? And if not, how do you shift it? How do you get it to a place that it doesn't suck? Nobody wants to come to work and work, and then end of day,
Yeah.
But I'm sure there was a time and a place where that, maybe when the technology or something wasn't as available, I don't know, where that was more important.
You're dead on. And where it came from was COVID. When we went remote, having kind of an end of day sort of cap made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
As we disentangled from COVID and we were more on location, that no longer made as much sense.
Right.
So I'm sure you're probably seeing that a lot with clients and people you're talking to. They set up certain regimens that were very COVID centric, but now that we're moving to this next chapter, they maybe are leaving some of those, ways of doing in place that are not making sense anymore.
Right.
So and sometimes it's hard, and I'm sure you help be that sort of outside vision for a lot of people where, we can't always see what's right here.
I say I can't see my nose. I actually cannot see my nose when I look out, down, around, but it's there and everybody else sees it. But if we aren't taking the moment to go, well, what is this thing? What is happening? And to ask the question of, why are we doing this? Who is it serving? Is there a better way? Right? But that requires the time. And what we know about business owners is we don't always have a lot of time. Right? So how do you help manage that? And full transparency, Fimble, we were not an easy client. I mean, you don't have to say that out loud if you don't want to, but I can say it. We were not easy.
Hard on yourself. You were not that hard.
Well, I mean,
Really. So
I'll challenge you on that maybe offline, because
you can challenge
you and I talked a lot personally about things, but we have an open conversation kind of relationship where we can talk about my experience in family business, your experience in family business. How do we bring it all together? But I saw a lot of strategy, right? Like, you picked the right person with the right personality and the right team to work with us. You created a schedule that held us accountable. I think you created a buffer for yourself, but more than that, you understood who we were. How do you get to know people in that way so that you can help solve their problems? Because I can tell you all day that I have a problem, but if I don't know it has to do with my nose, I can't see it.
So we have some really good processes for doing that.
Okay.
And they really live in what we call the discovery phase of our brand development process. So asking those questions and understanding and really listening
Yeah.
are focal. I think in your company's, in Fimble's case, I think there was enough consensus in terms of a forward momentum that enabled things to happen when they happened. And I think we kind of came along, we were sort of at the right time. The biggest challenge for Fimble, if I could, dig into that, was you had a previous provider that you had a bad experience with.
Yeah, 100%. I kind of forgot that in the moment.
Yeah, and that was really
awful.
a lot of the initial conversations were helping, at the time, Chris and you understand that, not every firm is the same. And here's how we do it. And here's, because we do it this way, that's why you're not going to have that experience again. Like, because I couldn't live with myself if you had a bad experience with us, especially, being neighbors. Plus, it's not surprising that a large percentage of our clients are multi-generation businesses, even some that are, now, linked to multi-billion-dollar organizations. If you go back to their roots, there's this little family business with multiple family members working in the business. Sometimes some are still in place. So once
there's a lot more of us than people think.
Oh, there's a ton. And once people understand my journey, there's always, I'm not saying that all journeys are the same when you're in a family business, but there's a lot of inherent synergies and parallels to the journey, if you will. So once that's understood, it just makes communications a lot easier. Because I kind of know, if you're a multi-generation or if you're the next generation, kind of know how you feel.
Right.
And
we can make a few at least assumptions to open the conversation. And I mean, I similarly have a lot of talks with people that are related to multi-generational businesses, and they're like, how did you do it? How do you do it? How do you do it? My first answer was always, you got to learn to communicate effectively. Period. End of story. If there's something in your head, it's got to come out in a responsible way, a solution focused way. Because there are a lot of assumptions that we make, based on, well, when I was a kid, my dad did this, when I was a kid, or carrying forward. But that's why it's so important to get to know your client, to get to understand their brand. But what I see you do, like when you walked us through the questions of if your brand was a celebrity, who would it be? The car, maybe the song, an animal. It was so great to reflect in that way. And I think as a life coach, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I need to do some of that with my clients, right? And have them, if you were an animal. I ask them a lot of questions, of course, but what is it about that process that gets you the answers?
So that particular module in our discovery process is and we don't like to give people too much pre-information before they fill it out, because
leave it a little secretive.
Well, because if you jump ahead as to the why, you may not get to the why.
Right.
So in this particular case, that's designed to sort of, so we're all very creative when we're little. And then because of how we go to school and then in the machine of life, we start to lose that creativity.
I firmly am against this. I want people to hold that childhood creativity and curiosity and imagination. And we don't have it. So you bring that back to us. Yeah.
So that process is a bit of short-circuiting that and going back to, hey, be a kid for a minute. Have fun for a minute. If your company was, manifested as an animal, what animal would it be and why? The why being the real important part. What that tells us as brand development experts is it's giving us very real, very authentic, unabridged indicators of what the style and tone of that brand truly is and should be. And that's what enables us to say, when you put on the new brand as though it's a jacket, wow, it feels just right. It fits. So that gives us a sense of tone and style. And every brand has a predominant tone and style. You would never see a Hallmark card using a 4-letter word, would you?
No.
Right? It's out,
There's
it's outside their
Nor a
style.
glass of wine or
Right,
none of that.
Right, so it's a loving style. The attitude is love, right?
Right.
And it's love, and it's kind of that old world love, right?
Yeah.
Whereas another Hallmark owned brand, Shoebox,
Mhm.
they could say all kinds of funky stuff.
Mhm.
Because
Okay.
that's that brand, you know.
So I have a question for you, and you don't have to answer if you think it would be defaming to Delia in any way. So if Delia has these core values, and one of them is the being professional,
Mhm.
right, at all encounters. If you were to create a subset brand of Delia,
Right.
what would its personality be? And I'm thinking there, like, I'll let you answer, but if you don't have an answer, I could.
Okay.
What would your shoebox
Yeah.
be?
So many years ago, we actually did have a sub brand,
Okay.
and it was called Delia Duramaid. And it was a brand set up to be a developer and reseller of ad specialties,
Okay.
essentially corporate gifts and things of that nature. And that brand was I would say far more playful
Okay. Yeah.
but that's what that style,
Yeah.
you know, would be appropriate. I elected to shut the company down, and I gave it a real hard look. I'm like, okay, if I really made a go of this other brand, what would that mean? What would that look like? What would I need to do? And as I was going through that discovery investigation, I'm like,
I don't want to do this.
so not into this. I don't have the passion. I don't have the drive.
Right.
I don't have the interest. I know what we need to do with it, and I could see where we could take it. But boy, I don't want that. I want to build brands. You know, I want to enable brands. I want Delia Associates to be the place where B2B brands go to grow. That's what I want, and I'm going to focus on that. I think some people are really good at multi-channeling. I don't know that I'm one of them. You know, I like to focus on what I focus on and be the very best at that. And then, you know, if I feel confident enough to say, okay, we're going to start something new, we're going to offshoot that, fine, we'll do that. But, you know, I like to focus. Some people like to multi-channel. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm saying it's not me.
One of the things that I respect about you is that you are deliberate and you are thoughtful, and not just in personality, but in what you engage with. And I think one of the tricks or things that you use to do that is vision boards. Do you still use vision boards?
Of course.
Are they still on your phone background and everything?
They are.
Okay, so what is the value of
yeah.
the vision board?
So the vision, so I'm a very visual person.
Naturally.
And my vision board is really my way of staying connected to the things that I aspire to in this journey. And every day, and I still do, and every day I do, I will look at it. And I don't look at it in total. I'll look at one piece of it, and I'll reflect
Same
on
piece every day?
No,
Different piece?
different
Okay.
pieces of it every day, depending on the day, and I'll kind of make a note and reflect on that one piece. So I think
Did you share?
yeah, I think today's was one of the visuals on there was just like in playful writing, let's have fun. So today,
Are you having fun?
I'm having a great time. So for whatever reason, I honed in on that today, and I said, all right, remember to smile, remember to have fun today. You know, because sometimes I can get really, you know, intense and serious, and you know, quite honestly, I think I take myself too seriously sometimes. And you know, the journey has to be fun, or else why are we doing it?
I totally agree. So when you feel those times of intensity too much, what do you do for fun? Is there a process by which you shift out of that and say, all right, it's time to go do something fun? And what do you do for fun? What do you do?
My outlets for, I'll say, releasing some of that intensity or stress or anxiety or whatever you wish to call it, has been exercise.
Okay.
So this morning, so a 3.25 mile run. Sometimes I'm listening to podcasts, sometimes I'm listening to music, sometimes I'm listening to affirmations. But that's it's early in the morning, it's quiet, you know, I can just sort of be in my own space, in my own head for a while. And I got away from that for a bit, and I've sort of reconnected with that and reminded myself, I don't do it just for the exercise benefit. I do it for the mental benefit.
And when we do things, that's self-care, right? Like, yes, we can spa all day, but real self-care is doing the thing that gives you the space to think, to feel, to experience, to grow, to strengthen. And we don't make enough time for that. So if you're not running, what are you doing? How do you connect with that part of your day?
So if I'm not running, I'm looking for windows of time where I'm uninterrupted and I can just think. I was actually talking with some colleagues last night, and I forget, it was the book. But there was an endorsement to say that, you'll accelerate your success if you block 2 45-minute windows completely uninterrupted for nothing but think time, and do that twice a week and see kind of what happens from that and what comes out of those think periods.
Well, I mean, and that's like the activity, that we led into during the overwhelm workshop is, well, what are you doing with your time? How are you spending your time versus what do you actually want to be doing? And, I talked with so many people who are like, I just don't have time for that. And I said in that group that day, if you don't have time, or if you have time to meditate, give yourself 15 minutes. If you don't have time, give yourself an hour. But it's true. If we aren't pausing and saying, what am I curious about? I've heard you say before, I live in a state of wonder. We need to sanctify and create space for that wonder, to really go back to that childhood creativity and that play. So with that in mind, and you think about the future of Delia Associates, you think about the future of Ed Delia, how do you see creativity and wonder as a part of your moving forward? Do you think you're going to block 45 minutes twice a week? Or is the running time enough?
The running time is almost enough. And I do something that takes me off the trail, because I'll make notes, because if I don't take notes when I have an idea, it's gone, right? Yes. So I was doing that this morning.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
I'm like off the path. I'm running on and I've tried the audio, but it always garbles up the. What does that mean? So I'm always like taking little notes, and I have like kind of a notes page where, and then I'll look at it afterward, and think, okay, I'm going to do that, or that was insane, So,
but it's so important, and we've talked about this. But we cannot judge our brainstorming. If you have the thought, write it down. You can evaluate later if it fits or not. It might fit for another thing down the road, but we have to stop judging our brainstorm. So keep writing down all the notes.
And then on just about every Saturday morning, that's kind of I will do work on a Saturday. It's really, well, you should, block out the weekend, and it's your time. But that is me time.
But right. And you are the brand, and in so many ways, right? This is your business. So it's a matter of how you allocate your time. And as long as there is time for you to be happy, playful, joyful, feeling in the week, then you spend your time how you want to.
Yeah.
Who decided that Monday through Friday is the time to? I mean, I love not working on the weekends, like not having to be in work mode, but I also love sitting there getting things done.
Yeah.
And it feels good to be creative when the phone's not ringing, and so you create space for that.
And on a Saturday or a Sunday morning or whatever, if it's early, nobody's around, so that's this beautiful uninterrupted time, whether it be for thoughts about business, thoughts about life, thoughts about whatever. So I'll often use that time as sort of me time, and I'll either be thinking about things that I knew, I wanted to put think time to, or and when I'm done, then I'm kind of setting up my next week. So I'm a big, kind of a plan and do is really, so every week I'm planning, my week ahead. So I know what I'm doing, I know what my team's got to do, I know what our key priorities are. I'll also write down what I call the top 3. So there's 3 initiatives that, I want to get done in the day.
Because if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. So you have to knock out the most important things, right? Just get it done, and it feels good.
I think another great perspective that came out of your presentation was, we talk about values and who you want to be and how you want to be. and you talk about tasks and what you're doing in the day, looking for anomalies or inconsistencies. So let's just say I believe in healthy living and healthy eating. I'm going to McDonald's for lunch every day.
Right.
That's an inconsistency.
You can believe all you want,
Yeah,
but if you're
but if your
behaving
behavior
in this way,
and tasking doesn't support your values or doesn't support that belief or the one you aspire to. So I think it's really a great exercise, because here's what I believe and aspire to, but if I look at literally here's how I'm spending my day and my week, and if there's inconsistencies, then A, I'm not living to my best self or the self I want to be, or B, I'm really BSing myself a little bit.
You're off brand, way off brand.
And I'm basically kind of trying to project and believe that I can be one way where I'm acting another.
Right.
So something's misaligned.
Well, and you brought up the word priorities and values. And if we're not clear on what our values are, there's no way we can prioritize to reach our goals. If as a brand expert, you say to your clients, yeah, sure, we'll tackle all of these right now. It's not going to work until you have a clear vision, clear values, and have identified part of the brand. And to be quite honest, that's not that much different than the work I do with my individuals and groups. It's, and I've got here for your prioritization, you go through the process of discovery, defining, differentiate, and deploying, right? Who are you? Why are you doing all this stuff? Why are you making these decisions? Who do you want to be? Let's define it. Let's call it out. Let's fact and proof check it. Differentiate. Well, I don't want to be the same as anybody else because I'm my unique self. So how do we highlight and, celebrate the characteristics of the person, the brand, and then you throw it out there and see how it goes. And then you say, well, that went well, or that didn't go well. What should we try next time?
Yeah.
And we use the data of what didn't go well, right? And I think marketing is so much the same way. When I learned the world of marketing, I was like, so basically we're just going to throw stuff and see if it sticks. Yep. And if it doesn't, we're going to reevaluate, we're going to retune, we're going to get to know our audience better, we're going to get better at who we are, and then we'll try again. And I mean, I know that's a very loose interpretation of it, but in my mind, we have to be willing to try and see who we are to become who we want to be.
And we're also making informed decisions along the way.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So we're
lots of data.
Hey, I'm going to go skydiving, right? Right. So this just floated in my head.
I would love to go skydiving.
So, and if you did, you wouldn't say, oh, any old plane or pilot will do.
Nope.
Let's just go over there, right? You probably do your homework.
Absolutely.
You'd ask around. You'd look at reviews. You'd look at safety issues. You'd probably study up on what do I need to know, right? So
and then you throw it and see if it sticks, so that your odds are a lot higher.
You're making an informed, decision. The same is true with our process. The same is true with how we set up brands and how we deploy them, and even the same is true for how we think about growth, right? Okay. Growth isn't just this thing that happens or doesn't happen. Here, we believe that growth is very much a strategic process, and just like any other investment a business might make in equipment, they don't just grab, hey, that piece of equipment looks good, let's get that. Right. They've done their homework. They've asked around. They've talked to their clients. They've assessed the market. They've assessed demand. They've forecasted. Right. And when they're done, they make an informed investment. Is the ROI guaranteed? Not for anything, but is it probable because they've done their homework? Yeah. That's the same approach we take to growth and to building brands, right? We can't guarantee victory. Nobody can. Any firm that says they can is lying. Right. But what we can do is we guarantee that we've applied the best thinking, the best process, and the best prospects for growth that we can to achieve a successful outcome.
And the process of doing that is something that we should apply to our brands, our business, our life, our relationships regularly. Check in, get the data, understand where we are, understand where we want to go, understand what's working. Because if we're just moving it forward, well, what are we doing? Are we going to end up with a bunch of numbers in parentheses at the end of the year? Or do we get to grow? So when you think about what's next for Delia Associates, where do you go? Where do you grow from here?
So we're very much in a growth trajectory now. Have some thoughts about what's going to accelerate that growth. And that will mean expansion. So they'll be expanding me, as a person, expanding us as a company, and really again, and applying some of our own, things that we preach and saying, okay, how do we be smart about our growth? And we have some thoughts about moves we're going to be making in the coming, 2 to 5 years to achieve that.
Which that dedication to learning and experience and development as a business is critical to helping your clients do it too.
Mhm.
You're walking the same path as them with a whole, bag's worth of experience, more than.
We are always our own test buddy for whatever we might prescribe to clients. We have some really innovative solutions that, again, we're not bringing out yet because we're going to try it first and see how it works for Delia Associates, and then we'll share it with the rest of them.
All right. Well, I can't wait to see. So we'll kind of wrap up because we are definitely at or over our time.
Okay.
So I could talk all day to you, and we should probably follow this up again. But I love podcasts, as you know, and Tim Ferriss asks the question at the end of his of if you could have a billboard, one billboard, assuming that your product is already marketed,
Mhm.
where you could say one thing to the world, what would you say?
Get growing.
Get growing.
Get growing. Grow. And whatever that means,
Mhm.
right? That means as a person,
Mhm.
that means as a business, that means in terms of your relationships, just get growing, because we only have so much time, right? And we want to walk away and say, what did we do with that time? And, be ending that time with 0 to few regrets, right? So get growing, whatever that means, do it, make that move today. If you're sitting there on the fence, get off the fence, make the move.
Yep.
Fall down and get up. So what? Right? Keep going, keep growing.
And thank you for that. I think that was incredible because you said it, and my first thought was business, metrics, numbers. And I'm like, no, but there's this whole other array of ways that we can grow.
I think so.
I think you're right. So we just have to touch on this baseball. You started, I referenced earlier, my colleague and employee Joe was your baseball coach.
Yeah.
And you walk in the front office, there's a baseball on the wall. And I think there's Yankees baseball seats in here somewhere. What does baseball mean to you? And what role does that play in your life?
So baseball has always been a part of my life. I think I started playing around with baseball when I was 3. And it's no coincidence that in our logo, there's a diamond. And the diamond represents the symmetry of baseball.
I didn't
So
know.
yeah. So when you look at the diamond, that's what that means, and that's where that's from. And it's basically my kind of subtle nod to the symmetry and precision and the art of baseball. It's a team sport. It's if you watch it the way I watch it, it's like watching a beautiful dance. Really, it's there's artistry, there's magic in the moments. It's fast, it's slow, it's hard, it's soft. It's really a beautiful sport, and that's always been a part of my life. My son was an excellent catcher. He was a varsity catcher from his sophomore year. He's off to college now. Looks like he'll probably play for the club team.
Oh my God. I just can't believe how fast they've
Yeah,
grown.
it's gone by fast. So he'll stay with baseball. I stay with baseball. I coach in the spring Bambino buddy ball. So we're helping special needs athletes learn to play the game of baseball. And it's quite remarkable what these young athletes can do. It's quite remarkable to see them grow even in the span of a season.
What do you see? Is it more of the physical aptitude or just the emotional experience for them?
Well, I see both, and what I really kind of warms my heart is to watch parents and grandparents on the sidelines seeing their son or daughter perform in ways that they've never seen them perform. And I treat them all the same. I'm like, you can do this, and I don't care what you're dealing with. You can do this, and I'm going to show you how. And, when you believe in them and they believe in themselves, they do it. And, they're high-fiving me after, they're giving me hugs, and, and now I've done it several years, and seeing some of the kids coming back, and, the group expanding a little each year is really nice to see.
Well, we talked earlier. Thank you for that. I am a little emotional because I get it. The parent watching the kid do the thing they never thought they would do.
Mhm.
Like, and just the relief of being able to sit and watch their kid and not have to be the caretaker. You said earlier that you wanted to leave an impact, that your work, you wanted it to last on some level, kind of similar to your dad's.
Mhm.
So we will officially close today with my gratitude, because not only did you work with and for our family at a time when we really needed you, we even got our logo redone, which we never thought we would do, and I love it so much. But you've also been a great mentor and friend and coach on a lot of occasions for me. And starting what would become this podcast, what really had a lot of fear and worry and self-doubt. But I want to reflect, this podcast started as an Instagram live conversation. The first one I did was September 1st or 2nd of last year, but the first Instagram live I ever did was for Fimble. And it was silly, and I was at an event thing, and I was terrified. But I did it, and I never did another one for them. But in one of our conversations, like, you put in a proposal for us that Michaela should do more video conversations. Like, you said, you need to do more of that. And I was like, that's BS. And then you're like, no, that's real. Like, you really need to do this. And listening to you, a brand expert, someone who knew me, knew my capabilities, say, put yourself out there.
Mhm.
It's good. I was like, So when I stepped into the light, into doing this kind of a conversation, you were in the back of my head going, do more of this, do more of this. And I think that part of you, whether it's with your clients, your family, the kids you're coaching, you can do this, I can help, let's do it with authenticity, is lasting. And if for nothing else, then you have helped me create this with your confidence. I hope this lasts forever. Therefore, your inspiration will as well.
Thank you so much. That was so kind of you. And by the way, as evidence of this show, you're quite good at it.
Well, we'll leave that to the jury. But what I want to do with my life is use whatever gift I have to help people become their best. I want them to discover. I want them to define it. I want them to differentiate. What makes you you? Why are you so damn special? Because you are. And then put it out there and see how it goes. And then and tomorrow learn something new about yourself, right? So I have to be my own guinea pig. I have to be able to say, let me try new things, and see what I can do with this gift.
Awesome.
So that's what we're doing. So if we want to find more at Delia, how do we get in touch with you? What's the best avenue? Where can we find more?
You can find me on LinkedIn at Delia or delianet.com. And I'm pretty findable, so you don't have to look too far to find me.
Absolutely. And really, truly, your presence in my life has made great changes and strides in a lot of ways. And I am eager to continue learning and growing with you. But right now, I'm eager to have lunch.
Okay.
So let's go do that. To everyone who joined us today, thank you so much. And wherever you are in your journey, I hope you make it great.
Thanks so much, Michaela. It's great to be with you today.
You got it. Pleasure.
And that's a wrap on another episode of And All the Things. If you enjoyed today's show, please like and follow on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If you really liked it, please go ahead and rate it. Then think about who in your life might also need to hear it and any of the other episodes we have shared. Then share it with them. When you find something meaningful, something valuable, you've got to share it and pay it forward to those you care for. Thanks for joining us, and follow along on Instagram at MyJoyCoach to see more of me, your host, Michaela Burdyshaw. And as always, make it a great day.